We all have a story. Your story is not my story, and my story is not yours. However, we can find joy, hope, and emotional healing even through our most painful moments in life. Let's walk and take this journey of healing together, one step at a time, because your story does not define you. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Niesha here, and I want to say welcome back to Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast. If you are joining me once again, I just want to say thank you for continuously tuning in with me and joining me in these conversations. I truly appreciate it. If this is your first time stopping by and checking us out, I want to welcome you and I want to encourage you to stop, pause right now, and like and follow this podcast and share it with a friend, as I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm super excited to join you today on this episode. And my vibe today is excited. I have a lot of new projects in the making, a lot of things coming up. My second annual It Hurts to Heal Women's Conference is coming up in March. And so I'm super, super, super excited about that, because I'm even overly excited because of our keynote speaker that we have coming, which is none other than Dr. Anita Phillips, who is my absolute fave. And so I'm super, super excited. I'm looking forward to that. So a lot of excitement, a lot of gratitude, a lot of planning is underway and in the making for the conference, and also for some other projects that I'm super, super excited to share with you soon. So that is my vibe today. What is your vibe today? Because remember, y'all, we get to change our vibe. If we wake up in the morning and we feel like the day is not going the way that we want it to go, we definitely have permission to reground, regroup as much as we need to, and to change our vibe. So please don't forget that. I am going to say it every single episode, because I just want to make sure that you get the memo that you control your vibe. All right, y'all? So look, today I want to talk about something that comes up constantly. I hear it so often, not just in my therapy room, but just in everyday life. And that is the idea that there is a right time to begin, the perfect time to start healing, the perfect time to go after the thing you want, the perfect time to finally work on yourself. And I want to just say this gently, but very clearly, that the perfect time does not exist. Okay, y'all? There is no perfect time. There is no right time. There is only now, and the version of you that exists in this moment. So, as a therapist, I hear so many versions of this every single week, almost practically, that I hear people say things like, okay, once my life settles down, or when I feel more confident, or after I heal more, or even when I have more time, more money, more clarity. And people want to wait until after those specific incidents to consider it to be the right time. And I really want to take a minute to really normalize this, because it makes sense. Of course, we want to say it. We want to have safety before we begin. Of course, we want certainty. But what if wanting and what if waiting is the very thing that's keeping us stuck? What if us procrastinating and trying to wait to the perfect time or the right time is the thing that's keeping us stuck? So, in this episode today, I just want to invite you to, first of all, stop postponing your life, okay? This is not an episode that I'm going to require pressure, right? So this is not through pressure, not through hustle, but through honesty, and honesty with yourself, to understand that there is no perfect time, there is no right time, but that right time is always now, okay? And so let's start by naming where this belief comes from, because the myth of the perfect time definitely exists, right? So if we consider this, we live in a culture that treats growth like it's a linear. And so oftentimes you guys hear me talk about healing is not a linear process, that it's a journey and it happens in waves, it happens in ups and downs, zigs and zags, and there is no straight line for healing to take place. And so when we think about that and about the culture that we live in that really treats growth like it's linear, like there's a checklist. Okay, when I graduate, check, boom. When I heal, check, boom. When I become more confident, boom, then I'll start. But look, y'all, real life doesn't work like that, okay? So, from a therapist lens, the idea of perfect time is often rooted in, I would say, like fear, perfection, and sometimes even past experiences where starting didn't feel unsafe. So, for many people, waiting feels responsible, okay? It feels logical, it feels mature because we want to make sure that we have all of our dots in a row, that we have every box checked off. But underneath that, there's often a quieter belief. And that belief could sound like, if I start now and fail, it will confirm what I already feared about myself. So instead, we wait, not because we're lazy, not because we don't want it bad enough, but because waiting protects us from disappointment. And so that's where that fear comes from. Because again, we could talk ourselves into procrastinating and into waiting because of fear, because of anxiety. And again, this may be contributed to something we have experienced in our past. So here's the thing, the brain loves certainty. The brain loves to have it figured out and to know, okay, what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. However, can I just share with you that growth requires uncertainty? That sometimes when we are in a position to grow, we don't always know what that's going to look like. And so the perfect time promises certainty, but life, it doesn't work like that, y'all. Y'all know that. Life doesn't work that like that. Lives, y'all. And so even if we think that we have things planned out, it doesn't mean that it's going to go the way that we want it to. So I often think about the scripture that says that, a man has his plan, but God devises his way. So that means that we have our plans. We may have things figured out the way that we want it to go, but that doesn't mean that God is not going to interrupt our plans and change it whenever he feels like it. So even though we have a plan for ourselves and we have a plan for our life and we are planning for the right time is right now, okay? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about readiness, because this is one of the biggest myths I see. I need to feel ready before I begin. So can I just share with you that readiness is not a feeling? It's a result of an action. Confidence doesn't come before you try. Clarity doesn't come before you begin. And motivation definitely doesn't magically arrive and stay, okay? So if we look at this again from a therapeutic lens and from a nervous system perspective, starting something new activates fear. Fear creates resistance, and resistance disguises itself as logical. So, I'm not ready often really means I'm afraid. I don't trust myself yet. I don't want to get my hopes up. So, when we think about that, it really makes sense. It really makes sense because, again, we may make this sound like it's something logical, but behind that and beneath that is really that fear that is really saying, again, that we are afraid or that we don't trust ourselves or that we don't want to get our hopes up, or either that we don't want to be disappointed. And again, that makes so much sense. But here's the reframe, and I want you to hear me good when I say this, is that you don't become ready and then act. You act imperfectly, and readiness, it grows. It grows, y'all. So every time you wait for readiness, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle discomfort, and that belief slowly erodes self-trust. So you have to learn how to be uncomfortable. You have to learn how to grow in that uncomfort because, again, it's never the perfect time. You have to really, 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 really understand and know that, okay, what is the fear behind why I'm waiting? What is the fear behind why I'm procrastinating? And so, even as I say this, it makes me think about myself. It makes me go back to just times in my life when I just really just wanted to, keep waiting until I felt like it was the right time, keep waiting until I felt like I was ready, and really just holding myself back because, again, being ready is not a feeling, and it's an action, and we have to move. And so I often tell people, like, if it was up to me, I really, really, really just enjoy staying in my lane, doing me without anybody's expectations, without anybody's input, without anybody's perspective. I just do me. And if I could keep doing things that way, I would definitely continue to keep doing things that way. However, that is not how God designed for me to move. He didn't design for me to move over here in the back, in my lane, doing me and not sharing the things that He gives me to the world and to the people that I serve. Because, again, I just like to be in my little bubble, and being in my little bubble is what serves me. However, that is not the assignment that God has for me. So when we look about waiting, we can look at waiting like this. So this is a tender part, or this is the part of waiting that's tender. When we keep postponing ourselves, something subtle happens. We begin to send ourselves a message, and in that message that we're sending, we're telling ourselves that I'll choose you later. So what happens is that later becomes when I'm less tired, when I'm less anxious, when life stops being hard. But y'all, we already know life lives, and it doesn't stop being hard. And so we stay paused, watching time pass, watching other people move forward, wondering what's wrong with us. And from a therapist perspective, I often see this as an unintentional self-abandonment. Not because you don't care, not because you've learned to prioritize survival over fulfillment. And I want to say this clearly, and I want you to hear me. You are allowed to work on yourself, even if your life isn't ideal. Especially then, that is the perfect time to do it. Do it scared. Do it when you don't feel ready, because that's when you can maximize the opportunity. Again, never ready. When I think about myself and I think about things that I'm doing, I do them because I don't always feel ready to do them, but I do them because I feel led by God to do them. And sometimes, y'all, I'll be just doing stuff and don't even know how I'm going to do it. But I just feel like, okay, if God brings me to it, then He's going to get me through it. And most of the time, that is exactly what happens. I just start making moves and I start doing things scared and uncertain and not really for sure what I'm doing and how I'm going to do it. And a lot of times I hit bumps in the road. However, these bumps in the roads are really teaching me and helping me to grow, and then also helping me to share that knowledge with somebody else. Because, again, just like me, afraid, just like me, uncertain, I can help somebody that might be in the same space that I'm in. So let's redefine what now actually means. Now doesn't mean do everything. Now doesn't mean fix everything. Now doesn't mean transform everything overnight. Now just means one small, honest step, one aligned decision, one moment of self-respect. So, if you are exhausted, now is the time to choose your gentle goals. If you are overwhelmed, now is the time to simply not quit. If you feel behind, now is the time to stop punishing yourself for a timeline that you didn't even choose. And most of all, if you are healing, and y'all know this is my lane, I love to talk about the healing journey. Now is the time to honor where you are. Not rush past it, because progress is not always visible. Sometimes progress looks like saying no, resting without guilt, trying again, not abandoning yourself when things get comfortable. And also remember this, because I often say this, that progress is not perfection, y'all. Progress is not perfection. It doesn't mean that we have to have it all together. It doesn't mean that we have to have it all figured out, but it's going and learning as we go, growing and learning as we go. So let's clear something up. Working on yourself is not becoming someone else. Hustling your way to the worthiness, that's not it. Constant self-improvement, that's not it. We have to think about this. So, when I think about this from a therapeutic perspective, for me, working on yourself means learning you, learning and growing. So, increasing your self-awareness, taking emotional responsibility, practicing self-compassion, and choosing alignment over approval. Sometimes growth looks dramatic, but more often it looks boring at times too. It can be quiet. It can be unimpressive to others. And guess what? That's okay. You are not behind because you feel like your growth doesn't look flashy or it doesn't look like what somebody else wants it to look like. You are growing because you're still here, you're still trying, you're still choosing yourself in small ways, one step at a time. And that's what growth looks like. That's what moving in the now looks like, is that taking your time, moving one step at a time, and figuring it out as you go. So as we have this conversation, I really, 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 really just want to invite you into a moment of reflection right now. And I want you to ask yourself, what am I waiting on to start because I want to feel more ready? I want you to ask yourself, what would change if I stopped asking for permission? What is one small step I can take this week, not someday, but this week? And this one is so more important, you guys. If nothing magically changes, what can I still choose today? Think about that. Ask yourself these questions, and I invite you in this moment to really sit and reflect on these questions. Remember, you don't need a breakthrough. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need honesty. And you just need to be in a space where you're really ready to move. And ready, remember, is not when you're getting ready, when you have to have all your ducks in a row, but ready is now. Ready is challenging yourself to move even when it feels uncomfortable, y'all. So I really want you to hear this. Again, not as pressure, but as permission. You don't need to be more healed to begin. You don't need to be more confident. And you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have it all figured out, because as you continue to wait to figure things out, remember, time is just passing by and we are wasting more time. Understand this, you guys, that this version of you, the tired one, the unsure one, the still learning one, is already enough. Is already enough to start. There is no perfect time. There is no right time. There is only now. And I want you to hear me good. And I keep repeating this because repetition really helps it to sink in your brain and to really help you to register what someone is saying. So again, hear me good, y'all. There is no perfect time. There is no right time. There is only now. And guess what? Now is not too late. Choose yourself, not when life gets easier, but because life is hard. That choice, repeated gently, is how everything begins. So, before we end this episode, I really, really, really want to speak directly to the part of you that keeps waiting. And I'm saying this because I know, I understand, because I've been in your shoes and am constantly in your shoes. There's a lot of times that I don't feel ready for a lot of things. There's a lot of times that I want to wait till I have this together, till I have that together. And then I have to remind myself that that day may never come. And I'm wasting time when I could be out here doing things, helping somebody, and more or less letting God's glory be revealed. And so I really want to speak directly to the part of you that keeps waiting. The part that believes one day you'll wake up and feel ready. The part that thinks if you just wait a little longer, things will finally click. That part of you, it isn't broken. It's trying to protect you. It learned somewhere along the way that starting felt risky, that hoping could hurt, that trying and failing might cost you something you weren't sure you could survive. And so it waits, y'all. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is what I want you to consider. What if the version of you who feels unsure is not the obstacle, but the one who needs your commitment the most? I want you to hear me good. You don't have to silence your fear to move forward. You don't have to feel brave. You don't have to feel confident. You only have to stay present with yourself while you take the next step. And that step does not need to be big, you guys. It doesn't need to be big. It doesn't have to be something that you feel like has to be a grandiose gesture. Sometimes taking that next step just looks like choosing you, not giving up on the thing that matters to you, letting yourself want more without shaming it, trying again, even when you're tired, even when you mess up. Keep chipping at it, keep working at it. It looks like beginning before you even feel worthy. You may not even feel worthy or that you deserve it, or you might be afraid of what people may say. But look, you don't have to become worthy by waiting. You remember that and know that your worth is in showing up. Showing up for you. Showing up in uncertainty. Showing up in fear. Showing up in anxiety. Showing up in confusion. Showing up in not having it all figured out. Showing up knowing that I can give myself permission to move forward in whatever it is that I'm trying to do, even if I don't feel ready. So, if you are somebody that you feel like you've been measuring your life by timelines that you didn't choose, if you've been judging yourself for not being further along than you should, I want you to hear this. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are not running out of time. You are moving at a pace that your life has required. And nobody gets to make that judgment for you. You don't need to compare yourself with somebody else. You don't need to feel bad because you feel like somebody else has it all together and you don't. You are moving at a pace in your life that has been required for you. And now is just simply a moment that you get to choose again. Not a reinvention, not a dramatic overhaul, just a quieter decision to stop postponing yourself. Quit putting yourself on the back burner. Quit pushing yourself to the side. Quit sacrificing your needs for the sake of everybody else because of fear, and because you fear that if I do it, I might mess up. Or if I do it, I might embarrass myself. Or if I do it, somebody's going to judge me. I want you to know that someday is not safer than today. And the perfect time is not more real than right now. So wherever you are, listen to this podcast, in your car, in the bed, in the middle of a hard season in your life, I want you to really let this be the moment that you stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for permission to start, for permission to grow, for permission to try. Remember, you don't owe the world a finished version of yourself. You only owe yourself honesty and care. And the best way to be honest with yourself is to be vulnerable, to lean in, to be honest with your truths, and to recognize that if I keep waiting, I'm wasting time. I'm wasting precious time that could be used doing the very thing that I need to be doing. Remember, now is the perfect time. Now is not too early. Now is not too messy. Now is not too late. Now is simply the place where you still are alive, still choosing, still becoming. And that is enough to begin. Look, y'all, I really want you to hear me in this episode because I've been there. I've been there exactly where you are, struggling with the perfect time, feeling unworthy, feeling unsure, feeling confused, feeling uncertain. However, I really, in those moments, have learned to challenge myself. And I really have learned to move and do it scared. Move being confused. And I'm the type of person that I am a risk taker. And I have crazy faith. And look, y'all, when God tells me to do something sometimes I have to hear him tell it to me a few times before I actually am like, okay, God, I hear you. It's like I need like 10 confirmations before I even decide that I need to make that move. And even in that, when I feel like I finally got the confirmation that I needed to do something, I don't always have the answers and I don't always know how it's going to come to fruition. But what I start doing is I just start researching and I start looking into, okay, how can I make this happen? And I may ask questions from other people, seek counsel. I may get support, I may not get support. However, even in that, what I understand is that my assignment and that what God is calling me to do is not predicated on if I get support or if I don't get support. Because again, people aren't always willing to give you support for so many different reasons. However, whatever the Lord called you to do, whether it's 50 other people out there in the world doing the same thing, if God told you to do it, you do it. Because regardless of who else is doing it, there's a version of you that the world needs. There's a version of you that God is going to wrap in his grace and his mercy to present to the world the way that he will have you to do it. So it doesn't matter, again, if you get an idea that maybe somebody else has, do it the way that God has given it to you. Because there are so many people in the world that have a lot of things going on. And that is perfectly fine, because everybody that is out there for others to reach may not be the people that you are supposed to reach. So stop procrastinating. Stop being scared. Stop being unsure. Stop letting fear keep you on pause and keep you on stuck, whatever that looks like. It could even be making relationship decisions. Stop letting fear stop you from moving forward and pushing forward to your now, which is right now. Now is the time. Now is the time for you to move. Not tomorrow, not next week, not a year from now, but now. And I want to challenge you to do it scared, do it uncertain, do it confused, but just move. Be like the 10 lepers in the Bible. They were healed as they went. It didn't mean that healing happened right then in the moment, but they were healed as they went. Look, y'all, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this episode with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I want you to take one small step this week, not toward perfection, but towards yourself. Take one small step this week towards your goal, towards making that decision, whatever that is, whatever it looks like for you. And I want you to do it scared. I want you to do it afraid, because now is the perfect time. Dr. Niesha here. I'm rooting for you. You got this. And know that I'm always here to support you. Until next time, y'all, have an amazing day.